Well, welcome to the 700 Club. No family should ever have to endure this kind of pain. Those words are from the family of 10-year-old Harper Moisky,
who died in the Minneapolis church shooting that was on Wednesday. Well, investigators are combing through documents, other material left behind by the killer, and they say the main theme is hate. CBN's Jenna Browder has the details.
Police are still working to learn why this shooting happened. 18 injured, most of them children, and 2 died. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel's dad shared how friends and family will remember his son.
Fletcher loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play.
The family of Harper Moisky is also grieving, releasing this statement. Harper was a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. Investigators found 116 rifle rounds from the school parish and 3 shotgun shells. They say the shooter had 3 weapons and died by suicide. Officials describe acts of heroism inside the church as children sought to protect each other.
We had one kid that covered up another kid and took a shotgun blast to his back and things like that, and they were helping each other out.
One pediatric nurse rushed to her hospital, not aware that her own daughter was a victim. The girl is now recovering from surgery. The suspect is 23-year-old Robin Westman, born Robert Westman, a former student at the school. Police say Westman had no prior criminal record and had recently purchased the guns legally.
The shooter wanted to kill children, defenseless children. The shooter was obsessed with the idea of killing children.
They're going through Westman's writings and other evidence to find a motive.
Pure, indiscriminate hate. The shooter expressed hate towards almost every group imaginable. There appears to be only one group that the shooter didn't hate. One group of people who the shooter admired. The group were the school shooters and mass murderers that are notorious in this country.
Meanwhile, some are criticizing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for failing to act on concerns that were brought to him in 2023. A resurfaced letter shows the Minnesota Catholic Conference expressing an urgent need for better security at Catholic and other private schools. And Minneapolis police say they've stepped up patrols at Annunciation Catholic School, and there are plans to expand patrols at all schools in the coming weeks. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, in addition to security for our schools, for our churches, for our synagogues, let's make sure we have the security of prayer. Let's pray that God would restore a hand of protection over our houses of worship. Well, in other news, after a massive security breach, the Pentagon is taking stronger measures to lock down its most critical cyber networks. Ephraim Graham has more of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, this stems from last month's bombshell report revealing Chinese coders may have had long-term access to sensitive DoD cloud systems through a contract with Microsoft. Now, new details have Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promising to take the investigation to the next level. National Security Correspondent Caitlin Burke is on this story.
The Pentagon is tightening oversight and demanding accountability from Microsoft while closing a loophole Secretary Hegseth calls an unacceptable risk to national security.
The use of Chinese nationals to service Department of Defense cloud environments, it's over.
Hegseth added the Pentagon issued a formal letter of concern to Microsoft and ordered a third-party audit of the digital escort program, which is what allowed engineers based in China to write code for undertrained U.S. supervisors to enter into DoD cloud systems.
I'm also tasking the Department of Defense experts with a separate investigation of the digital escort program and the Chinese Microsoft employees that were involved in it. These investigations will help us determine the impact of this digital escort workaround. Did they put anything in the code that we didn't know about? We're going to find out.
While Microsoft maintains defense officials knew about the program, a ProPublica report found no reference to China-based operations in the company's security filings. While alarming, experts say the blame doesn't fall solely on Microsoft.
This latest revelation highlights a variety of different failures, both on the part of Microsoft and on the part of the federal government. The Department of Defense failed at multiple points to ask tough questions of Microsoft about what its programs entailed.
Research analyst Jack Burnham with the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's China program warns this all comes as China has stepped up cyber attacks against the U.S.
Just a few months ago, Microsoft's SharePoint file system was allegedly infiltrated by Chinese hackers that had breaches at both DHS and other departments. China writ large has certainly expanded its campaign of cyber espionage and sabotage within the United States, targeting critical infrastructure, water systems, electrical grids.
For now, Hegseth says the Pentagon is reviewing each defense software vendor to ensure Chinese nationals are removed from the supply chain.
I'm committed, like the president is, to ensuring that our national security networks are secure.
Burnham says big tech companies looking to do business with the federal government should expect higher security standards and a real understanding of the risks that come with relying on China in cyberspace. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Israeli Defense Forces announced the recovery of the bodies of 2 hostages inside Gaza. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, there are still 48 hostages living and deceased inside Gaza.
Ilan Weiss's body has been returned to Israel. The name of the other hostage has not yet been released pending forensic examination. Weiss served as the deputy head of the emergency response team in Kibbutz Be'eri and kidnapped on October 7th. As the IDF continues its assault on the Hamas stronghold in Gaza City, it announced it's suspending midday tactical pauses for humanitarian aid there, calling it a dangerous combat zone. The pauses will continue in other parts of Gaza. On the international front, France, the UK, and Germany began a process on Thursday to reimpose snapback sanctions on Iran because of its nuclear violations. The 3 countries accuse Iran of violating the 2015 nuclear deal. The move starts a 30-day period of negotiations before the sanctions begin, which would affect banking, travel, arms sales, and Iran's ballistic missile program. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio backed the move and urged Iran to resolve the issue. In Yemen, media reports indicate that an Israeli strike on Thursday killed the Houthis' prime minister. A separate attack reportedly targeted at least 10 senior Houthi ministers. The Israeli operation follows weeks of ballistic missile attacks by the Houthis that sent millions of Israelis to bomb shelters. In Jerusalem, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the head of the World Food Program, Cindy McCain.
The idea that Israel has tried to starve the people in Gaza as a tool of war, I firmly and completely reject that.
The IDF announced the construction of more distribution centers inside Gaza.
This is just a part of the humanitarian effort the IDF and Israel are doing in the Gaza Strip. Airdrops, trucks going into different parts of Gaza, and distribution centers. We have said multiple times there's no limit on the amount of aid that can go into Gaza.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Showing you a side of war that others aren't sharing. Gordon?
Yeah, it is a side you're not going to see elsewhere. It seems to be this endless drumbeat that somehow or other Israel is engaged in a genocide. If they wanted to engage in a genocide, they could have done so 2 years ago, but they decided, no, we want to be protecting the civilian population. We want to warn them of upcoming strikes, and now they're wanting to make sure that they have adequate food. They only require that it not go through the hands of Hamas. Hamas will steal the food, sell it to its own population, and in that get enough money to buy more weapons. We shouldn't go along with that. Here's a question for you to think about. How in the world does a tiny country like Yemen get ballistic missiles with cluster bombs? How in the world does that happen? Well, to me, it's quite clear. It's being fueled by Iran. It's being prompted by Iran. And I hope these sanctions go into place, but it's clear they don't respond to sanctions. And at what point in time is there going to be yet another armed conflict? We saw Israel's dominance over their ability to resist airstrikes. You see the U.S. dominance in taking out their nuclear facilities, but they continue to supply the Houthis with ballistic missiles. They continue with their ideology of hate. The crackdown against dissent within their own country is horrific. The executions they're doing regularly, horrific. We need to stand up to this evil, and the evil is based on what they think. And they think it's righteous to eradicate Israel from the map. And guess who's going to be their next target? You and me. And they've said it for decades, that Israel is the little Satan and the United States is the great Satan. I hope we wake up and believe them in time to stop any kind of attack.